John. Now, what is the point of a minimum wage if you aren't guaranteed minimum hours? Today, the fight against zero-hour contracts went global, and it now has its sights set on the fast food industry. Food workers took action in over 30 countries around the world, calling for the right to join a union and decrying poor conditions and low pay. Our culture and digital editor, Paul Mason, reports.
On a cold morning in Milwaukee, USA, workers whose voices are rarely heard speak out.
Everybody out here, There's people that ain't even out here yet that's got your back. Wait till y'all see later. It's gonna be bust.
These are McDonald's workers on strike, part of a fast food protest across America today calling for a $15 minimum wage.
Decent contracts, decent pay.
And today the protest spread to Britain, starting in Sheffield just around Egg McMuffin time. The issue is 0 hours contracts, where you're called in or laid off by the hour according to the needs of your employer. No McDonald's workers joined this protest, but the spokesman gave us first-hand evidence of what a 0 hours contract is like.
Well, I work in a local restaurant in Sheffield on a 0 hours contract, and it's a really quite a horrifying experience, really, when you can end up working maybe 40 or 45 hours a week one week, and the next week you can only have 5 or 6 hours. You see, it means that you have no steady cash income flow. When your bills are going out constantly, you're left in a very precarious situation when you're not sure of your position from week to week.
All we know for certain about 0 hours contracts is they're on the rise. The ONS thinks there are about 580,000 people on them in Britain. One personnel directors group puts the figure at over 1 million. The unions say any is too many.
They're unable to pay the rent, buy food. I mean, I spoke to a few of these people that work in the fast food industry who tell me because of their uncertainty of hours, you know, they sometimes hide away from the landlord to pay the rent, for example. I mean, that's no way for people in work to have to live.
McDonald's wouldn't let us film inside a store or give us an interview or permission to speak to staff, but they said in a statement, employee hours are scheduled in advance and we never ask people to be on call or restrict people to working for us exclusively. If shifts become available due to staff illness or other circumstances, employees may be offered additional hours if they would like to work. If you're after a job at McDonald's, they produce this booklet, which explains in great detail the fringe benefits you can expect and no fewer than 8 career stages you can progress through. But it doesn't say anything about hours or about the pay you might expect. Critics say that leaves people on 0 hours bearing all the downsides of flexibility and uncertainty. But some economists think the contracts are good.
0 hours contracts are not necessarily a bad thing for employees. If you look at a lot of the statistics survey data around this area, lots of people are actually very happy on them. The average hourly rate tends to be higher than the rate in for full-time workers as well.
Today's protests coincide with the government releasing figures showing the richest 10% in Britain own more wealth than the poorest 70%. And while wealth is about more than wages, the rise and rise of insecure and low-paid work is contributing to this growing gap.
Paul Mason.